FastAPI is a modern Python framework for building APIs quickly and efficiently. In this course, you will learn how to create and test APIs using FastAPI from scratch. If you are new here, make sure to subscribe to our channel and check our website for more programming videos, courses, and blogs. Alright, let's start. Alright, let's install FastAPI. We'll use Python's package manager. Run the following command from the terminal. This installs the FastAPI framework along with its required dependencies. However, installing FastAPI alone isn't enough. We also need something that can actually run our web application. For that, we'll install Unicorn. Install it with this command. The standard option installs a few additional packages that improve performance and provide useful development features. Now that we have FastAPI installed, it's time to build our very first API. Let's create a folder for the project. Then let's open this folder in an IDE. I'll use Visual Studio Code, but feel free to use any other IDE that you prefer. Inside our project folder, create a new file called main.py. The first thing we need to do is import the FastAPI class. This class is what we'll use to create our application. Next, let's create an instance of it. This object represents our web application. Now let's create our first endpoint. This tells FastAPI that whenever someone sends a GET request to the root URL, it should execute the function below it. For now, just think of it as connecting a URL to a Python function. Whenever someone visits our endpoint, FastAPI simply calls this function. Finally, we return a Python dictionary. Notice that we're returning a normal Python dictionary. We're not converting it into JSON ourselves. FastAPI automatically converts Python dictionaries into JSON responses. Now let's run our application. Open a terminal in your project folder and execute the following command. Main is the name of our Python file. App is the FastAPI application object. Reroute automatically restarts the server whenever we save our code. If everything is working correctly, you'll see output similar to this. This means our API is now running locally on our computer. Let's open a browser and visit that URL. Immediately, we see the response. So now you have successfully built and run your first API. Let's go to this line again and understand it more. This is called a path operation decorator. It tells two things: which URL should trigger this function and which HTTP method should be used. The first part is the path. The path represents the URL after the domain name. For example, let's create another API for a different path. Save the file and refresh the browser. If you visit this, you will see the response. Each path is connected to a different Python function. This is exactly how APIs are built. Now let's talk about the second part of the decorator. The word get is an HTTP method. HTTP defines different methods for different kinds of operations. The most common ones are get, post, put, and delete. FastAPI provides a decorator for each HTTP method. So far, we learned how to create multiple path operations. These are called fixed paths because the URL never changes. But what if we're building a real application? Imagine we're creating an online bookstore. Every book has a different ID. We certainly don't want to create a separate endpoint for every single book. Instead, we want FastAPI to capture the value in the URL and make it available inside our function. Let's create our first path parameter. We will create an example API that retrieves a book with a specific book ID. The book ID is part of the API path. Notice the curly braces. Whatever value appears here will be passed into our function. Let's test it. Let's try different random IDs. Notice that we only wrote one function, but it works for any book ID. That's the power of path parameters. So far we learned about path parameters, but sometimes the information we want to send isn't part of the path. Instead, it's additional information used to filter or customize the response. That's where query parameters come in. Let's look at an example. Suppose we have an endpoint that returns a list of books. Now imagine we only want books written by a particular author. Instead of creating a new endpoint like this, we can use a query parameter. The URL would look like this. Everything after the question mark is called the query string. Receiving query parameters in FastAPI is surprisingly easy. Simply add them as function parameters. Notice that we didn't use curly braces like we did with path parameters. We simply added a regular function parameter. Now let's test it. Try different values. FastAPI automatically reads the value from the query string and passes it into our function. What happens if we visit Books API without providing the author parameter? You'll notice that FastAPI returns a validation error. That's because author is currently required. We can make one optional by giving it a default value. Now let's try again. So by simply providing a default value, we've made the query parameter optional. In real applications, you'll often have more than one query parameter. For example, we might want users to search by author and publication year. Simply add another parameter to the function. Now we can call this API and search by year, author or both. Let's try that. Very simple. So far in this course, we've learned how to receive data from the URL via path or query parameters. These approaches work well when we're sending one or two values. But what if we want to create a new book? A book has multiple pieces of information. Putting all of that information in the URL wouldn't make much sense. For example, imagine a URL like this. This quickly becomes difficult to read and maintain. Instead, modern APIs send this information in the request body. For example, a client could send the following JSON. Our job is to receive this JSON and work with it in Python. This is where Pydantic comes in. Pydantic is a library that FastAPI uses for data validation. Instead of manually checking whether every field exists and has the correct type, we simply define a model. FastAPI does the validation automatically. Let's see how it works. First, import base model. Next, create a class that represents a book. Now let's create a new endpoint. Since we're creating a book, we'll use a post request. Because the parameter is a Pydantic model, FastAPI automatically expects the client to send JSON in the request body. It reads the JSON, validates it, and creates a book object for us. Let's test it. Open the interactive API documentation. We'll learn more about it in the next chapter, but for now, simply navigate to this URL. Find the endpoint and click try it out. Our API received the JSON and returned it back to us. Now let's see one of the biggest advantages of Pydantic. Suppose someone accidentally sends this. Notice the price value is string instead of float. Instead of accepting invalid data, FastAPI automatically returns a validation error explaining that the price field should be a number. We didn't write a single validation statement ourselves. Pydantic handled everything automatically. What if a required field is missing? Suppose the client sends this. The author field is missing. Again, FastAPI immediately returns a validation error indicating that the field is required. This helps us catch invalid requests before they reach our application logic. Let's learn more about this interactive API documentation page. You may have noticed that we never created this page ourselves. So where did it come from? One of the best features of FastAPI is that it automatically generates interactive API documentation for every endpoint you create. As your API grows, this documentation stays up to date automatically. You don't have to write or maintain it yourself. Let's open our browser and navigate to this URL again. You see a page listing all of the endpoints we've created. Each endpoint is grouped by its HTTP method, making it easy to explore your API. You'll see information about the endpoint along with a button labeled Try It Out. Click Try It Out. Then click Execute. FastAPI immediately sends the request to your running application. Below the request, you'll see the response returned by the server. There's another documentation page that FastAPI generates automatically. Open this URL. This page presents the same API information using a different layout. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and check our website for more programming courses.